previous session, we looked at the various data types. We finished the number systems, right? Various types of numbers, how to do the conversion between the numbers, how to do the conversion between the representations. Also, we considered about the binary, hexa, and the decimal number systems, right? How to do the interconversion, plus conversion of those numbers into the text, right? We also have an option in MATLAB to convert the given decimal number into its equivalent hexa numbers. And as I mentioned earlier, that's a very important feature to do hardware programming. Whenever you try to interface the hardwares such as microprocessors, microcontrollers, right? We try to write the text into a text file. Then you write that text file. You have an option to send the text file to the machine, okay, to the hardware. So this was the application we studied. Then we moved on to the text, right? The strings and characters. We were looking at the features of characters and the strings, in which we considered some of the options: how to convert a string, how to generate a string directly, how to generate a string array. Then we considered characters, how to generate a character, how to convert the characters into strings using functions. And also we considered the cell array of the characters. You can convert that also into the string array basically. So this is what we had considered in the previous session. Okay, now we are continuing from here. So the first topic today is about the empty strings and concept of missing in terms of strings. Alright, so by default it is expected that you should be able to generate the arrays of strings such a way that the strings can contain either empty or missing values, right? Because as numbers we generate arrays and we put numbers into the arrays, right? And we have seen in MATLAB that you can create both of them, right? Something which is missing, which does not exist, and another. Right, same thing, similar concept is expected over here as well, because you are trying to generate an array once again. Only the difference is now you are trying to do it in terms of the strings. So string arrays are what we are considering right now. So coming back, empty string contains 0 characters. So this is the definition of empty. Empty string, this implies it should contain, empty string contains 0 character. Okay, so that's the first definition. So when we display an empty string, the result is a pair of double quotes and nothing between them. So when you try to display, right, implies, right, the result is a pair of double quotes. Okay, the result is a pair of double quotes, such as just this, right? You don't see nothing in between the double quotes, so it will simply display double quotes, right? 2 double quotes and nothing in the middle. Okay, so how to create them, we'll see that now, and I'll also define the missing part as well, right? So the missing string contains, missing strings is actually not a number, something like not a number when it comes to an array, right? In array we have seen how to generate a not a number and how it is represented in the form of maybe it may be present in an array, or it may be a single variable, right? We can handle the not a numbers, right? So similar to that we should be able to do it over here. So missing string is a string equivalent to not a number in numerical array. right? So when we try to display the missing string, result is just missing, no quotation marks. Okay, it will simply display missing, all right, because there is nothing to display. So let me write that now. So when I try to deal with the missing string, right, so this is equivalent to MAN of the numeric arrays. So whenever you try to display the missing string, right, so the result is simply it just displays like this, MISSING, right? So note that here I don't have any quotation marks, so no quotation marks. So this is what is the basic difference between the two types of the strings that are possible in MATLAB. Okay, so we'll move on to the MATLAB window to verify this. Alright, so first let us try to create the empty string. So when I say str, it's a variable, is equal to, simply I call string. I'm just declaring that str is going to hold strings, right? And I'm not initializing any value to that. It means it is going to create an empty string. So you see, it's an empty string. So this is the first thing, right, that we can do, is how to create an empty string. Alright, then I will go ahead and I'll try to create a missing string. Okay, so this can also be done as a, say, str, I'll define it as a second one. str2 is equal to string. The command to create a missing string is open a bracket and write MISSING. It understands that. Okay, we have to generate a missing string now, and it will create a missing string. You can see this, right? So you can see it's simply creating a missing string in the as the format I mentioned earlier. Okay, so that's how to deal with the null string and a missing string in MATLAB. Okay, very similar to that, we can also deal with the characters which are missing characters or null characters, right? But just before that, let's look at one very important aspect of the null strings and the missing string. So see, when we create an empty string array using this particular string function, right, so it returns an empty string. Just now we saw that, correct? But just you need to note one thing. I'll go back to the MATLAB window to show you that. So what is the size of this? Okay, size of the null string, right? When we say null, we are trying to we are expecting a 0 into 0. There is nothing, right? So this is what we expect, but let's just look at that. This is the important aspect. So I'll open this, the str. You see, it is actually 1 into 1. So kindly note, the size of a null string is 1 into 1, right? It creates a string and it puts nothing over there. So it creates actually a space, right? So you can actually check that with what's the size allocated to that. So str, just check, it actually takes so many bytes, right? And you see it is 1 into 1 in size. It's a string class. So whereas I can also check the str2, right, that also gets allocated, right? You see, it's missing or null doesn't mean that no memory is allocated to that. So there is memory allocation, and you can see that the memory allocation happens in the following fashion, right? So much of memory definitely gets allocated to the to those variables, because you are creating a variables and you. But there is a difference when it comes to the characters. We'll see that now. So that's one important aspect I had to mention. So I'll just write that point over here, because this is an important feature of this. So when I create an empty string, basically the size is 1 into 1, not 0 into 0. So this is important. Okay, it's 1 into 1, not a 0 into 0. Very important aspect. Now let's move ahead and let's go to the empty character, right? So when I want to generate an empty character, right, you have to simply use single quotes. So this is obvious because MATLAB differentiates whether it is a string or a character by just looking at what type of quotes you are using, double quotes or single quotes. Double quotes are meant for the strings and single quotes are meant for the characters. So when I use single quote, it understands that it is a character. But if you don't enter any character between the two single quotes, it expects that it is a empty character. Alright, so just see this. Now, so I use single quotes, right? Two single quotes to create that. Okay, so that means let us directly go back to MATLAB and check this feature now. So I create CHR, right? Just this. So the its character is created, but now you see the difference. Compare this with the string and you can understand that it is a 0 into 0 empty character array. It's always 0 into 0, right? Whenever I go for character, you see nothing is there, right? It's not a 1 into 1, it's a 0 into 0. So you can check who's using this. So no memory is allocated, right? It says it is 0, right? You see the number of bytes allocated to this particular variable, it's 0, because nothing has been created. Until and unless you put some character over there, right, it's always going to be 0 bytes. So size is 0 into 0, nothing to allocate, so 0 bytes got allocated to this. Okay, that's as expected. Fine. So the empty characters means it's a 0 into 0 array. Right. Then now next let us try to look at the various methods using which we can access the array elements in case of string arrays. So this is our upcoming topic. This is string. String array access, right? So normally string arrays support array operations, right? Very similar to that of what you call the numerical arrays, right? We had many operations. You could access, you can index, you can reshape, do a lot of operations, right? Similar to the matrix operations, we can do that. So here also we can do the same. We can replicate, right? So but the technique is slightly different. There is a difference that is arising because of the data type is different. There will be a difference in terms of accessing and reshaping the numerical arrays compared to the string arrays. Okay, so let us first create an array and then let us come back. Okay, let's come back and check how to access the various types of elements of the. So to find the spaces in the text, right, our option is to use the function, inbuilt function called is space. So this is, I'm asking machine that do you have spaces in this particular text. Okay, so that's the first option. And if you want to replace with let's assume that I found some spaces or something, right? I can do a replacement. So to do the replacement, to replace, right, you use a function called replace. This function is used. I can simply call a function called replace. Alright, so now let us check how do we use eSpace and replace functions in MATLAB. Okay, so let me, I think I already have created the text with me, so I don't want to repeat that, right? So I'll just use the clear screen. So let's say we have the str over there, right? Let the str string be there, right? I'll just write str. So this means I have the array with me, and I want to check, I think only one of the string has space in the middle, so I'll use that particular string and I'll check whether there is whether we have spaces in that particular text. So how to check that? You can check that using okay, I'll assign it to a variable called tf. This is equal to isSpace is space. I have to be specific about what I want to check, right? I want to check the str of it's actually applicable to character array, so I have to use a character format cell structure for that. So I am using flower brackets. Okay, so please make note of that. I'm not using the normal bracket here. In the inner bracket is flower bracket. So 2, 2. Okay, then I close the normal bracket. Now you see it gives you a logical array saying that there are 8 characters in this particular text what you are looking for at position 2, 2, right? And it returns a logical array saying that 0 represents no, 1 represents yes. So what was your question? Question was space, right? Is there a space? So 1 means yes, that particular position is a space, right? 0 says that no, it's not a space. Alright, so 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, indicating that the 7th position is a space, right? So you can check that whether there is a space or not using this particular command. So eSpace is used in this fashion. Okay, so going ahead, let's try to replace, right? So we know that we can replace by using the command called replace. So I'll just use that, replace. I don't have to assign, because whatever was the original string, it itself gets a replacement of that particular position. So replace, say str, right? Now you see I'm doing the string operation, so you have to be like normal bracket. So 2, 2 position, go to that, find out the string whatever is there and replace the spaces. So space is indicated as give a space, right? It's not a null character, it's not a null string. You see I have given a space, actual space between, you see there is a gap, so this is the space. So give a space, comma, then you say what you want to replace with. So I want to replace with the dash, fine, so replace. So you can do this for anything. You can search for s over there, right? Write a s in the middle, it finds s over there and it replaces with a dash. But as of now that's not my target, so I'm trying to do the replacement like this. Just see, so you see it identified where was a space and replaced that space with a dash, right? You don't want to have this, because most of the time some of the devices which we want to communicate with, they don't like spaces. You don't want to create the variable names or the maybe basically variable names, or even the text or the file names we want to enter. We don't want to have a space in the middle, right? In such cases, you can definitely find out spaces and replace. This is the basic application and most common application. That's why I gave an example of identifying space and replacing this. But this can be applied to any the replacement function can be applied to any variable. Okay, so like anything, any character you can find and anything you can try to replace. So that's how, that is the application of the replace string. Alright, then let's move ahead. Now let's try to look at the option of concatenating strings into string arrays. So is it possible to do that? Let's check this. Okay. This is concatenation of strings. So by default I can generate the strings, maybe one single string or string array, anything we can do at first. So after that, once that is done, the next option is that if I have two such string arrays, right, can we club them together to get a larger string array? So the answer is yes. Right, concatenation, you can do this by using square brackets. So whenever we have the, let us say, whenever we try to concatenate the character vectors, right, let's assume that we have some character vectors and our intention is to concatenate the character vectors into string, so the character vectors are also automatically converted into strings. Anyway, I'm going to show you both concepts here. So first let us look at the concatenation of two string arrays. So two smaller arrays of strings we consider, and then we try to concatenate. So let's go back to the MATLAB screen, and alright, I'll create two smaller arrays now, so I don't need them. So let's create two arrays. Say str1 is equal to only the first row of the previous matrix I will create, so that is okay. This is string number 1, sorry, ATR I gave. Okay, no problem. str2 is equal to, let's create the second one. So I think we gave scalar scalar 2 . So these are the two strings. Okay, now let's create a new string called str is equal to, I just want to concatenate them. So this is what's the name? ATR. Okay, ATR 1, give a space, tell str2. So by default concatenation happens at the end of the first string, and that whole new string is assigned to the str. You can see 1 cross 3 and 1 cross 3. They are clubbed together now, and the result what we have is a 1 into 6 string. Okay, At the same time, we can do something like I can try to make make them to be something like concatenation even can happen in the column wise fashion. So I'll just show you that. Let me create a, say, str3 is equal to, what is the first thing, atr1 transpose. Okay, see, this is vertical now. Okay, and str, say, 4 is equal to, that is str2 transpose. So you see, it automatically got converted in this. Now I will try to do a concatenation maybe like this. So maybe str, I think 4 is over 5 is equal to, I'll do the str4 3 and 4. Okay, so this is str3 and str4. So now you see, this is how it is. Now I try to append something maybe at the top or at the bottom. I can add maybe one line at the top. Okay, so possible. Let's do this. Let's try to give a heading like structure. Okay, so what I do, I'll make this changes in the str5. str5 is equal to, I will try to add one complete row, one row of 2 columns. So what I do, I add the new column here, new row here. So the row should have 2 columns. So maybe I'll give a heading like, okay, maybe this is mission name, possible, space, comma, I'll enter the next one to be the station name, possible. Okay, I'll just close this, and followed by, you see, I'm using a semicolon saying that below this write the actual str5. Okay, or I can actually create a new one. So let's not change the str5, let's keep the str5. So str6 is equal to, make this change. So you see, it actually added a new row of mission and station, and followed by that I have the str5, which is already exists, which is a 3 cross 2. So the result is a 4 cross 2. Okay, so this is the way how you can access strings, make some manipulations with the strings. Okay, now let us go for another very important aspect of the string arrays, and here we are going to look at the concept of appending the strings at the end of some strings, right? So I have a table of strings readily available with me, but I just want to add the same text at the end of each of the string in that array, right? Is it possible to do that? Yes, right? So something like everybody has the same surname, names are different, just the surname has to be added at the end for the complete text, right? So is it possible? Is using a single command? Yes, it is possible, right? I just have to enter the names, then I can in a single stretch, I can, for everyone I can add the same surname, right? So just an example. Let's see how this works. So this concept is about append some text to strings, right? So we use, for this we use one operator, use the plus operator, that is plus. Okay, so basically what this is going to do is, it is going to append the text to each of the string that is present in the array but it is not going to change the size of the whole string array. There were 5 strings earlier. After this operation you still have only 5 strings, but internally the length of each string gets changed. So that is the important aspect of this. So the plus symbol actually appends text to strings, but it does not change size of the string array. So basically it will not change. Alright. Right, now let's look at the same concept, how this works in MATLAB. Alright, so now let us create the string array. I'll give the same example. I'll just enter the names of say few candidates, and then let's assume that they all have the same surname. Okay, and I just add the surnames to each of them using a single command. Okay, let's see that. So let me create this thing called names is equal to okay, so we created a 5 into 1 string array. Okay, 5 different names have been entered. Now let's assume that I just want to add the surname to this maybe. Okay, so you can do that by using a single command, that is say maybe names new is equal to, simply say names, all the names of that particular variable, use a plus command, and you have to enter as a character array. So maybe I'll just enter Smith. So just see the size of that names was 5, and the same thing is retained over here. I still have the 5 into 1 string array. But you see, right, the size of each individual string has been increased because we are trying to add a 6 character, I think 6, right, the space, then SMITH. So 5 plus 1, 6 characters are added to each of the strings. So individually there is a increment in the size, overall size, but the 5, which was the original size of the string array, has not been changed. That's still 5. Alright, let's move further. Then now let us try to look at the concept that what if I want to add different text, right, or different last names. Let's say the last names are different, right? Can I do that using a single this thing? I know there are 5 names, and all the 5 names have been entered already, and they are present inside the string array. But now I want to add 5 different surnames. Is it possible? Let us check that. Okay, so that is, this is to append different alright. Now our idea is that we create a new text array. Okay, we create a new text array of what you call the new text which you want to add, right? New array has to be created. Create a new string array of text and append using plus. So here create a new text array of strings and then append by using the plus operator. So let us check that concept now. Okay, I think we already have I'll just use a CLC and names are there. Okay, so names as usual. I want to add different surnames, maybe. Okay, so what I do, I create a new string array as expected. So last names is equal to, let me enter individual last names, maybe maybe Adams, then Young, Burns, okay, so this is the new string of last names. Alright, so once we have this, now you see how we create the new name list which is obtained by appending the last names string array to the first array which is called as names array, right? So names array plus last names should do the job. So I'll call an names2 variable is equal to, so let's just enter names. I'll use a plus. Let's assume that I want to give a space in the middle, so this space I create. Alright, then plus enter last names. So let's check. Yeah, sorry, my mistake. Okay, so you can see, right. So the new array is created by the names2 equal to. So you can see the first word of each string is coming from the first array, and the second part of each name is coming from the second array. So by using this particular concept, we can append different texts to different text presents in an array. Okay, this is also a very important feature that we have to use several times during our main programming.